Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, on whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon, and thanks for joining us on a Sunday night live. Unfortunately, this bright red face is from yard work today, and not from being out on the water. Like sounds like some of you, Saint, enjoying one of your last runs on the Bayliner, which is awesome. So my daughter and I, and I had a high school kid lined up to help me. We tore out our play set a couple weekends ago, and we got mulch and all the black canvas stuff and the railroad ties around it. So we pulled all the railroad ties today. We cleared out all the black paper and spread it so we can hopefully in the next couple of weeks start planning out if we're going to put a basketball court that back there for my youngest daughter that likes playing basketball, and repurpose it for that versus planting grass and then redoing a basketball court later down the line. But so I am sore, I am tired, but I'm here. And what usually happens is we have some good conversation and we go for at least an hour, if not more lately. So couple of things. If you got a question, just throw it in the chat and we'll get to you. Last week we had some folks that gave donations, and if you do that, I'll get to your question quicker. But I try to answer all questions every night, so it's not required. It is appreciated, but not required. And I will start with sustainability. Sustainability's got I think a 25 Bennington Q with a 400 horsepower, and his insurance went down. Now he's on an inland lake. I'm gonna say in the Midwest somewhere. I'm gonna say Michigan, but that doesn't feel right to me. I don't think that's right. But anyway, I'm almost certain I got the horsepower right this time. I know it's a Bennington Q. I think it's 25 feet, but his insurance went down from 1,200 to 740. I didn't realize that. That's something that I wasn't aware of. Now it could be because he was a first time buyer with the big, huge horsepower, and he showed himself that he was a competent operator. That may have played into it a little bit. He's not impacted by all the hurricane adjustments to the rate that the folks in South Florida and the Gulf and even the Mid Atlantic have experienced over the last handful of years, and losing carriers even over the last 10 years. People have dropped out of that market. Rates have shot up. But if anybody else had seen something similar, let me know, because that's an interesting trend that I wasn't aware of, and I need to talk to my insurance provider, and that the ones that if you go to boatersecretweapon.com slash, I think it's just boat insurance, you can get a free quote. And I just ask you a few questions about the type of boat you have, so I can refer you to the right partner. Because if you're at the coast, if you've got a big, something over 40 feet, if you're going to run inland lakes and you got a pontoon, there's different people that are going to have better rates for you. And so I'll have to check with them and see what they say. But Fox River chain of lakes. Okay. I don't know why I keep spacing on that one for use sustainability. I usually do pretty good on remembering everybody's stuff. But awesome. Looks like we got a great group today, and I would love to hear about 211 if you got on the water, if you got some of your shakedown stuff taken care of from the dealer, or if you're still waiting on them. With this time of year, it's you might still be another week or so. And finding a new marina that's less expensive and closer to home is always a good thing. And that's pretty awesome. That is a good thing. Bo, you guys know him as Saint from up in Washington. Sounds like he may have sold his cuddy cabin knowing it's really, really hard to find a cuddy. But he did a decent amount of work to it in the past 2 years, probably, I would say. And so hopefully that doesn't make you sad the next warm weekend that comes up. But grab that toolkit and start shopping. I guess there's that upside that you get a boat shop some more, if you ever quit, which I don't know that you did. But yeah, you got the memories, you got the pictures. I always like going through, looking at the old pictures of all the different boats that I've been fortunate enough to run and to have, and it is, yeah, nostalgia, I think might be the right word. Um 30s last night, again tonight. Yeah, it was 70, 75 down here in the Carolinas. I'm right outside Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's getting warm. I spent, what was it, last week or 2 weeks? I did the first part of the twin engine best boat captain on the water. You can see I've got my best boat captain shirt on today. We haven't started making these for sale yet, but I wasn't happy with the lady that made the first round out of them. So um, I might do that in the future, but I've got to find a better provider for that. But yeah, we're in the 70s. I was on the water, a beautiful time on the water about a week and a half ago. I will be finishing the docking mastery section and a couple other little pieces for the twin engine, and hopefully have that done by the end of this month, if all goes well, and be ready to get it to folks the first week of May. Again, if all goes well, if the weather holds out for this week, that's the big kicker. But summer will come. Summer will come. Yes. Curious, how did you get the idea for the intro where the guy throws the anchor in the air horn? I've got a marketing guy that I work with that is from outside Cleveland, Ohio. And he does a decent amount of stuff in the boating industry. He is a wake surf guy. He's got a Malibu LSV, I think. I think it's a 25 LSV. And I met with them, and I was looking to do some more serious marketing. And by serious, I don't mean serious. I mean like real. Spend some money on it. And so he's pretty good at Facebook ads and follow up sequences for email and the strategy him and I kind of clicked with. And so he last year, it was right after Labor Day. He's like, "Listen, we need a couple videos that we can use for our ads." And we him and the guy that did the videographer guy and myself spent like 4 hours talking through all right, what do we teach in Best Boat Captain? Um, what would be some funny stuff to incorporate? You guys have been on these lives enough. I'm not a super funny guy. I might have a funny quip every now and again or a comment, but I'm not a funny guy. And, but the three of us came up with some of the ideas, and the throwing the anchor was an idea that we had talked about, but there was we filmed it in Ohio on, what is it? Portage Lakes, Ohio. It's a couple of lakes that are attached. There's a nice restaurant that Nick knew the owner, and we were sitting there filming. Everything was going good. We got everybody coordinated, and I saw this waitress that hadn't gone on yet, and I was like, "Listen, I'll give you $20 if you come be in this section of the video." And she's like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine." I don't go on for another hour. She was just sitting talking to her friends. And so we had the idea of throwing the anchor up and her walking by and getting the ski rope handed to her with somebody that didn't have dock lines. And it was just the three of us kind of brainstorm. We've got a bunch more footage that just hasn't been edited together. And so hopefully come Memorial Day when we really get going selling the Best Boat Captain, and you'll probably see those out on spread out from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and you'll see. I think there was seven different shorts that we put together. Some of them are I think are going to turn out even better than that, and so I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, it's my face is warm, that's for sure. Like I said, I had a high school kid lined up, but it ended up he bailed. He didn't call me back or text me back. His mom didn't call me back or text me back or message me on Facebook. So whatever. But so my 9-year-old daughter, my youngest, her best friend from next door, a 8-year-old from across the street, and a 5-year-old from across the street helped me pull up all the black stuff and get the mulch out, and they actually were very helpful. And it was kind of fun working with four girls under 9 or 9 and under, and myself. I think I got the worst of the sun. Will U.S. Coast Guard accept my sea time over the past 15 years on jet ski towards meeting the 360 requirements, getting my six pack? Yes, they will. You have to be on a watercraft and be on lookout. Be on lookout and then show ownership of the boat. So or the owners, yes, you can have access to this. So I got mine's a 25 ton, and I've got my master. So not just the six pack. Six pack is, hey, you're a licensed captain, and you can take up to 6 passengers. It's called the OUPV, um, uh, official operator something personal, um, something. I don't know what it stands for. They call it the six pack. And then you show your time on the water, you show the vessel, the registration number, the title, something that shows ownership, and then you submit that. And I'm I'm almost certain that the jet skis will count towards that. Now it's got to be a 4-hour day. It's got to be a 4-hour time on the water of either operating or being on watch over the age of 18. So you can only go back to your 18th birthday and forward is the time that will count for it. And oh, there you go. I see it says 6-pack right there. So yeah, that should work. And then you got to take the classes, which is time in the seat studying. So whether that's online, whether that's in the actual class, then you've got to take your CPR and emergency response class. Then you've got to take a drug test. Then you've got to get your medical evaluation from I guess any doctor can do it, but he's got to fill out, or they've got to fill out the U.S. Coast Guard form, whatever that is. And then you have to, what else did I do? Then you've got to take the tests. So there's a um, deck general, nav general, and course plotting. Course plotting is 10 questions. Deck general, nav general is 50 questions each, and you've got to get I think it's a 70 on one and 90s on the other two, including the plotting, which means you can only miss one on that plotting one. And then the time on the water, which is all self-reported and showing this. I have ownership of this boat during this time, or I had the opportunity to run it with the ownership registration and a special Coast Guard form that you fill out that the owner signs with their registration showing they own it, and they gave you permission to run it, and it's got to be 4 hours minimum per day. That counts as a day. And then you've got to have your whatever the 360 day requirement for the 6-pack. It's more for the master, but I don't remember what it was. I've got boating time back to when I was 18, and so it wasn't that difficult for me to get that requirement. But it's interesting. You'll find, Ryan, that you are, depending on what level of a boater you are, you may not actually learn. You'll be surprised that you don't learn much about boat operation. It's rules, it's terms, it's the coal regs is a big part of it, obviously. But you're learning stuff to become a true deckhand captain on big commercial boats. So what I use it for, there was very little applicable to me running 25-foot pontoons and training people on the water. And, I did the towing endorsement. I've got my towing endorsement as well, which allows me, I help out the Towboat US guy on our local lake, on Lake Wiley, just kind of an on-call as needed type thing. And, so that's another test that you got to take. Just, again, more time learning. Take the test, pass it, and then you've got that extra endorsement. Also, update dealer took care of the warranty issues the next day. That's awesome. 211. That is listen. People don't always believe me when I say how important the dealer is, but every boat, I don't care what it is that you buy, every boat, brand new, $15,000, $1 million yacht. Matter of fact, the $1 million boat is going to have more things wrong with it because there's more things on the boat. But every boat's going to have something in the first year. Usually you're going to have something in the first week or two that you're out, because it just takes getting banged around on the water. It takes more than one guy sitting on it that runs boats every day, and he hops on with the safety gear, hops in the captain's seat, and goes and runs it, does the pre-delivery inspection checklist, the PDI checklist, hops off it, they put it back on the trailer. It takes the family getting on with the cooler and running it in chop and doing that, and things will, oh, that's loose, that needs to be adjusted. Ooh, this broke. And it's the case that with boats, because they're so handmade, and a great dealer will find a lot of that stuff. But also, when you come up and say, hey, this needs to be tightened, this needs to be adjusted, this needs to be fixed, they get on it and they get you back out on the water quickly. And it's so critical. We had a guy, if you guys remember, what was his name? he bought the 23 SSI here in Charlotte. I met him at the show and talked to him, and I'm blanking on his name. If you're on here, say hey. But he texted me because he was local. He emailed me or texted. I don't remember. He said, "Oh, I went out and this happened and this happened." He was so discouraged. He said, "Listen, just let them know they're a great dealer." It was the boat rack on Lake Norman. I know the owner. They've been in business for a long time. They're going to take care of you. Just go and let them know. They'll adjust it, and you'll be back on the water very, very quickly. And he bought it right at the Charlotte Boat Show, and that's exactly what happened. But as a new boater, if you're not expecting that, if you're comparing it to, hey, when I bought my F-150 or when I bought my Yukon, it was perfect, and I didn't have to take it back until I hit my first oil change. That's just not the case with boats. So anyway, yeah, that's exactly what you want to have. Still waiting on permanent fix from Seafox because of location problems. And again, hey, the attitude of a great dealer is, hey, we'll get you taken care of. Let's get what we can fixed, but let's get you back on the water, and then we'll get the permanent fix. Which brings me to a point. I talked to Mike Mandel, who was he did some of the tech videos. I talked to him last week, and he said he was going to let me run one of his boats for another training I need to do and film. And he's like, the steering's tight. He said, it's an '07 Sea Ray 240 Sun Deck with a Mer Cruiser, but Dometic, who he says they have all of the aftermarket steering cables. So if your boat has actual cable steering, which is, there's still some cable that are produced, but it's not digital, right? It's not digital. It's not electric. But it's actually, you're pulling a cable for your steering. That they had a recall on their steering systems and their steering cable systems, and it is nearly impossible to find them. So if you've got a boat with cable steering and it's getting tight or it's having issues, grease that thing up good, because he wasn't sure. He's like, I'm not sure how long it's going to take. And he's got connections. He'd been in the industry working on boats for 20 years, and he can't find a cable for his own personal boat. So just something to be on the lookout for. Upper Illinois. Okay, Illinois. I've got to lock that in. I always want to put you in Michigan or Minnesota, but Illinois. Okay. All right. So mainly a non-intrusive way to get to the problem. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes access. When you said location, I thought location being you weren't close enough to wherever their parts were coming from, but there you go. Bo, if you don't know, Bo or Saint is a big fan of cuddy cabins. He's up in Seattle, where they make a lot more sense than they do throughout most of the country. And so most manufacturers have stopped making cuddy cabins because in the South, where most of the boats are sold, it's too hot. It's too hot to be in a cuddy and have it be useful. And so they kind of fell out of favor as pontoons started getting more popular. Center consoles took over, and so you just aren't finding many cuddy cabins. And I know he is in love with the cuddy, and so he needs to find one. Might have to talk about the price though. Yes, knowing what the resale value is going to be, and you're probably going to have to do some work to it. It is always something to keep in mind, that you get the right price for what you're going to have into it by the time you're having a great time on the water. Now that boat show season's over, what's next for the industry? Well, after this is sort of my mark for when boat selling season starts. So you've got boat show season, January to March. Then there's a lull, depending on when the boat show is in your area. You get all of the sales, you get them delivered in that window. most of the boat shows are over by March 15th or so, mid-March. So by the first part of April, you got most of those boats delivered. There's a little bit of a lull, and then it's after tax day. You see another, okay, now the selling season starts. The weather's started to warm up in most of the country. Sorry, Brian, except for West Virginia. But the weather starts to warm up. That after tax day could have something to do with taxes because so many boat owners are business owners, uh, commission salespeople that they're waiting till the last minute to file their taxes. They finally get their tax bill back and they say, okay, now I know what that looks like. Now I know what my fund money looks like. The weather's warming up and they start buying boats. So from the end of April to May, especially the 2 weeks before Memorial Day, is super busy. June, July, to the 4th of July is crazy busy. And then busy through like crazy busy from that May, June, July timeframe. And then busy until Labor Day. And that week before Labor Day, it starts to slow down. And then after Labor Day, it slows down a lot, except for the cruiser market. After Labor Day, what's interesting, and I'm not sure why this is, but the cruiser market starts to pick up towards the end of September, October, November, and it does pretty well. I don't know. I don't know what it is about that market, but they do well in the fall. And I even see it on my this video that I did, how to buy a used cruiser. Um, when you look at that, it's got 184,000 views from 2 years ago. When you look at the trends, it spikes up after Labor Day. And I don't know what it is that causes that, but the people that are responding to me that get the toolkit are asking a lot more cruiser questions. So whatever it is, maybe it's that people are done with them for the season. They keep them in the water. And so there's a lot of them for sale. I really don't know, but it was the same way when I was selling that. That's when a lot of cruisers got bought. And then November, December, it slows down. So it's really just, hey, it's summer and people are buying boats. People are in the market to buy boats in the summertime. And there's really just in the, when I was selling, it was our boat show was in mid-February. So we would sell a bunch the couple weeks before the show, during the show, the 2 weeks after the show. I would deliver them all March. And then the last week of March, the first 2 weeks of April, I was slow and I was kind of getting ready, getting organized, getting my leads together, following up. And then after tax day, you start selling again. And I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm warm enough that in April, there's 70-degree days. And that's what kicks off the normal customer selling season. Is the first warm weekend, people go out and do their yard work that they need to do. The second warm weekend, they say it's time for a boat. It's really fascinating that when it's location by location, but the first warm weekend, people start to get the itch. They do the yard work that weekend, and the next warm weekend, they go to the boat dealership and start looking at seriously buying a boat. So that's what's coming up, is just getting sales in, getting boats delivered. And the service departments are um getting people ready for the water. So if you're in the upper Midwest, they're getting docks put back in. They're getting boats de-winterized, pulled out of storage. The shrink wrap's coming off. You're pretty much out of freezing temperature. What did Brian say? It would be in the 30s. 30s last night in West Virginia. So when you're there, once you're outside of that freezing temperature, boats start getting unwrapped, start getting de-winterized, batteries put back in, splashed in the water, back on the trailers. Customers start coming to pick them up, and the service department's been busy since March in most parts of the country because they're getting prepped for that. Up next is the boat test, seeing how those new boats are put to work. Yeah, you really start to get going. My insurance went from 900 to 859. Okay, so Jerry's went down. Jerry's went down by $40, but he's on the coast. He's up in Maryland, up in the Chesapeake area. So they don't get the same hurricane thing. But that's interesting that he's on the saltwater with a totally different style of boats, because the market adjusts. The way they calculate the premiums is they look at the last year, and their actuaries say, what did we pay claims at? Where is our balance of portfolio, our risk? Do we want more of this style of boat, or do we want less? And they're going to adjust their rates accordingly based on, the last couple of years of claims. The South Florida, Gulf Coast, the hurricanes, those rates have gone up. It might be that throughout the rest of the country that, hey, the claims have gone down. And that's a good thing that the insurance is going down. That might be another. I was going to do a video on the Dometic steering cables as well, and that might be another interesting one. Talk to a few folks and confirm that. Feel like the only guy here without insurance. You need to get insurance, man. I know it's something that you don't want, but if something were to happen, I know you're a competent boat operator. I know you're safe, but if something were to happen, it is a bad situation for you personally. As a good person, you would feel awful. And you also, there's things that happen that is unexpected. That's an accident, right? So I would highly recommend it. On your boat, it might only be $500 a year, maybe even less, on your former boat. It's very inexpensive, and I think something that you should have for sure. Had my potable water pump not working, shakedown, turned out that, as Captain Matt said, it was the intake screen clog. Yes, I knew it. Probably stirred up the crud. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just run a few tanks through, or run a few gallons through. I helped I ran, like I said, I did the twin engine version, and I ran a 32 four winds. I think that's what it was. Yeah, a 32 328 Vista, I think, four winds Vista. And I told him, hey, he said, we've got the water system winterized still, boats in the water, ready to go. I'm like, well, let's do that. And I was going to do a video. We ended up not, because we were out filming the twin engine version all day. But yeah, we just put the hose in the freshwater tank, turned on his rear faucet, and as a matter of fact, I took the attachment off and just shot it over the end of the boat. We had the one in the galley sink going. We had the cockpit sink going, and just ran a bunch of water through, and then checked the screens and the filters. His was pretty good, but yeah, it doesn't take much. Get all that crud out, and you're in business for the season. But I'm glad it was that simple of a thing. That's typically what it is. Ryan, you're very welcome. Glad to answer that. Had the exact same issue a few years ago. Member was like, greetings from St. Lawrence. Boat shopping activity is picking up. Sunday night was a better time for us, but thankfully I can catch up on the recording. Very good. Stephen, welcome back. Stephen's been on a bunch of the lives, and sorry, I'm getting text from my daughter. But that's awesome. And Stephen, I'm guessing on this, but I think Stephen's down in Florida somewhere. But I may just be totally making that one up. I don't know. Probably what I filled the tank, put a cup of bleach in. Yes, that's a good thing to do. Just put a little touch of bleach in there to kill anything. Take the boat out to run it, get that thing shaked around. But then all that all that stuff's got to get out of the tank, and so you're good to go. Jason, shopping for it was Jason something was the guy that bought the Chaparral. Shopping for a used high performance boat, wondering if you have any tips. Jason, when you say high performance boat, are you talking like a formula? Are you talking that type? Or are you talking like an MTI center console high performance? Let me know, and I'll give you my thoughts. And also, are you at the coast? Are you running coastal? Are you running inland? And I might have some different thoughts there too. But answer that, and I'll come back to you. Okay. And we don't have a ton of questions stacking up, so I'll get to it pretty quick. Momo Adams, welcome back. What would you tell us about a vehicle with or without a tow package for trailering your boat? Would 6,500 towing capacity be able to tow a 21 footer with a trailer? That would be close. I would say get the towing package. It would be useful. And Momo, you were looking at a center console, if I remember right. Tell me if that's not right. Dry weight, and I'm just gonna do sportsman. All right, so the dry weight is 2,300 pounds. Approximate dry weight, max horsepower 200. I wonder if that includes the motor, but we'll say that includes the motor. Know what your dry weight is with the motor. We've got a 64-gallon fuel cell. So fuel is what? 6 gallons, 6 pounds per gallon, 64. So if you got a full tank, that is 384, 2,300. So we're at 2,684. If you've got a T-top, if you've got gear, so we'll say that's another, let's say 500 pounds for gear. That's going to be on a dual axle trailer. So that's going to be another minimum 1,200 pounds. If you carry any extra stuff, but that's going to put you at 4,384. And that dry weight seems low to me with a 500-pound 150. Let me look at dry weight. Let's look at a 21-foot center console. Who should we pick? Key West. I think we even talked about Momo. I think we may have talked about Key West with you. The 219 Key West is okay. Well, 2,250. Gosh dang, that's got to be it. But okay, so you're at 4,384. Boat, full tank of fuel, 500 pounds of gear, 1,200-pound trailer. If it doesn't include a 150 is about 500 pounds, so you're at 4,800 pounds. So you would be okay with that in that scenario with the 2,500-pound towing capacity on a 21-foot. Would you say 21-footer? Okay. If it's a heavier boat, so if you're looking at what's a heavy boat? We'll say a 21-foot Grady White center console. So if it's a heavier boat, let's see what their dry weight. Okay, there we go. So weight without engine. So a 21 Grady is 3,360 without the engine. So it's a full 1,000 pounds heavier without the engine. So that tells me that these numbers are without the engine, but they're not disclosing it that way. Which they should. They probably don't legally have to, but I like the way that they're making that clarification here because it matters, especially at that 3,300 pounds. Because then with the 1,200-pound trailer, couple hundred pounds of fuel, 500 pounds of gear, you hit that 5,000 mark for sure. But I would say you're still with a 500-pound motor. Let me make sure that's right. How much does a Yamaha 150? 516 pounds. Okay. So yeah, I was close on that. That's a reasonable estimate for a 150 if that's what you go with. The 200 won't be too much more. Matter of fact, on Yamaha, I think it's even the same. Yep, 516 on a Yamaha 200. It's the same motor, they just tune it differently. So, yes, I would say you're okay. I do like the towing package. It's gonna give you the the mounted to the frame receptacle, so the receiver, so that you just plug in your hitch receiver, pin it up, and you're ready to go. Lights are there, everything's there. Depending on how they do it, what the vehicle is, they may even put in a transmission cooler. Which the closer you get to that towing capacity, the more you're going long distances, going up and down hills. That will be beneficial. They may, I don't know if they beef up the brakes, probably not, but but I think it's valuable. When I buy my trucks, I do the towing capacity. I make sure it's got that, because you never know what you're going to be towing. For me anyway, it's you never know what's going to be back there. But yeah, I would think you would be. But that's the math that you want to do, Momo, is just figure out the boat, find the dry weight. Does it include motor? Does it not? And don't go 6,400 pounds. Like if I'm at 6,000 pounds, I'm about as heavy as I want. Because you don't know, maybe you put some water in there, you put more than 500 pounds of gear in there. I never want to max out what I'm towing. And I'm sure Brian would share this. Brian used to do RVs. Brian Boyles from West Virginia, and it's just towing a vehicle is, especially if you're going longer distances, um, you it can be dangerous if you overload things, if your tongue weight's not right, if your tires aren't good. So make sure all of the safety checks, and you can watch the trailer video that we've got. I talk about it in Trailer Like a Pro. Um, how to buy a used boat trailer. I guess I wasn't even on my channel, but here's all right. So Lake to Sea Outdoors has one. This is mine with 47,000 views. I did that 4 years ago, but it's all the same stuff. Um, and just what to inspect. A lot of that carries forward to what to inspect before you go. But in Trailer Like a Pro, in that program, I actually go through on a trailer. Like this is the hubs. This is what all the mechanisms work on your tongue, the winch strap, transom tie downs. I go through all that stuff, and then also how to back it and whatever. But and load the boat. But don't push it too far if you end up with something heavier like a Grady. And also know if you're buying pre-owned, I don't remember if you were looking new or pre-owned. I think you were looking new if I remember right. But Momo, a used boat that's over 10 years old probably weighs more than what the dry weight states for that, because it may have sucked in some moisture. It's definitely got more weight to it than when it came right out of the shop. And they also, this is interesting, but this weight is an average weight of the way they want to equip it. So you don't know if this is with a T-top or without. You don't know if it's with the options that you got or a base boat. They get to choose and they get to weigh it, and they get to use that weight as long as there's some restrictions, but it is not our heaviest boat. It is not the weight of every boat. And because boats are very handmade, is it may fluctuate a couple 100 pounds because they use more resin, because they put a little bit extra weight because of the options that it has. And so that 20, what was it, 2,300, 2,250 for a Key West, plus 500 for the motor, I would assume. So 2,750, 2,800 for the Sportsman. A T-top, couple 100 pounds probably. You know, electronics, all that stuff is gonna extra. I've got an extra battery, an extra 25, 30 pounds. All that stuff starts to add up, and you want to, that's why you don't want to ever push too close. All right. I think I covered that. Hopefully, if you got more questions, Momo, just throw them in there. What are the pros and cons of indoor storage, climate control, shrink wrapping, outdoor storage? It's exactly what you said, Jerry. The climate control. If you think about what the increasing and decreasing temperature does to anything, is it's when it's hot out, it's going to expand. When it is cold out, it's going to contract. So you've got all your gel coat and your fiberglass that's getting those fluctuations. And so it's expanding and contracting minute amounts, but that's happening. You also have moisture condensation because of that temperature fluctuation. You've got a better chance for condensation to form and to get in the boat, to get in your seats, to start maybe a little bit of mold spore here, a little mold spore there, which once a mold spore takes hold, it's nearly impossible to get them out completely. You can clean them, but as soon as it gets damp, warm, and a little bit of dirt to grow on, it's gonna continue to get worse. And so those are the big reasons. But it's that temperature fluctuation that is the key. Now, is it significant? I I would say no. I would say it's not significant. The bigger the boat, the way more expensive it's going to be to put it indoors, and the availability in your area, indoor storage is going to be at a premium for sure. But those are the advantages and disadvantages. A little bit. Uh, if you shrink wrap it right, you put your vents in, that condensation issue can be virtually eliminated. And if you can find a way to put a solar fan in there to get air circulation and make sure you put it away totally, totally dry, totally, totally clean, you really can limit that. And then is the expansion and contraction of the hull, is that enough to worry about? No, that's not gonna cause spider cracks. Um, yeah, it's not gonna crack anything unless it's super, super extreme, which in Maryland, you're not gonna have super, super extreme where you're keeping it. Um, Completely ID with the good dealer will take care of everything as soon as possible, get you back on the water. Yeah, at 211 just went through this. He took delivery of his 248 Commander not even a month ago. And maybe it's right at a month. I don't remember, but very recently. And he's just gone through this. And fortunately, he found a great dealer in his area that carried the style of boat that he wanted, got the price that he was comfortable with. And now he's reaping the rewards of that, because, as I said, there's always going to be something, and a good dealer is going to address it quickly and make a plan. If they can't fix it 100% right away, make a plan. How can we get you back on the water as quick? Like, one of the questions that a good dealer will ask is, "Hey, when do you need to be back on the water?" okay, we can do this and get you back on the water tomorrow. And then we'll figure out how to get the complete fix, but you're going to be safe. You're going to be good. And then, or, hey, I don't need it for 3 weeks. Great. We'll dig into it and we'll get you 100% fixed up and you're good to go. Or can we address it for right now? And can we deal with it, in September? Perfect. Let's do that. And they make a plan with you and they work with you. That makes sense. Um, what's going on? You said the family has, assuming you've been on that a few times. How did you like the ride? Um, no. Friends of mine have a 230 SSI. It's a '07. Another buddy's got a 210 SSI. They're both up on Lake Norman. They are both 2007s actually, in that year, and that it makes a difference for what I'm gonna say next. The ride is nice. It's a good balanced boat. You can use a little bit of trim. You can get that nose up. One thing on the 230, I didn't notice it as much on the 210 when I've run that, but the 230, it lists a little bit. And here's why. It's the same reason that my in-laws Cobalt R5 lists slightly, is because I'm 6'2", 225. My wife is 5'10", 5'11", and the where she likes to sit is in the back corner seat. Um, and on the '07 Chaparral, the captain seat and the corner seat that she likes to sit in is both on the starboard side. So we have all of our weight here, and we've got our 2 kids that are barely 100 pounds each on the other side. One of them's riding in the bow at the very, very front. So she's on the center line. She likes to she likes to tie a rope across the cleats. I taught her how to do a cleat hitch. She hooks up the line, does a cleat hitch to the other side, and then she holds it like she's riding a horse, and she sits up there on her knees, when it's safe for her to do so. And my other one usually sits in the back, or sits in the big comfy seats, with their feet out up in the bow if that's where she's feeling it for that day. But that little bit of list is the only thing I don't like about that '07 230. And it's not a significant deal, because what we'll do is we'll put the cooler on the other side, and that's enough to level it out enough. But when the girls want to cuddle on we're cruising back, and we've got us two on one side, and then my daughters are cuddled up with her under a towel. Um, then you can really feel it, and because of that list, you don't get the V cutting through as much. If you think about it, that V is designed to slice through, but when you're like this, now you got more flat surface on the water. Um, I don't know. Um, 2023. Don't know what the layout is on the new one off the top of my head. Let's look here. Okay. So with the U-shaped seating, it's not an issue. Um, on the one we run, it's got a walk through. Well, it's got a walk through here, and so that seat is there, and this is where my wife sits. This is where I sit. So we've got 90% of the weight on one side, 80% of the weight on one side, and the other weight, 100 pounds in the middle, and then maybe 100 pounds here, here, or here, which is why. But with this setup, that's not going to be an issue. But chaparrals are going to ride as good as a Sea Ray, as good as a Regal, um, almost as good as a Cobalt. Cobalt's just a little bit heavier and a little bit more solid. But if you don't go from running a Cobalt to running a Chaparral, you aren't going to notice really. But yeah, it's a good running boat. Okay, yeah, I thought it was a center console Momo. Um, and do they have not in the SSI? I think 23 is the biggest SSI they have. Um, I think you have to go to the SSX. Yeah, 21 and 23, 21, 23 in the stern drive. The SSX, you get up to the 247 and the 267. Those boats are going to ride even better. If you look at, I don't know if you can see super well, but the dead rise on the SSI is not quite as sharp as the dead rise on the SSX. And the chines are going to be slightly bigger on partly because it's a bigger boat, right? It's a 25 foot, 24.6 versus a 21 LOA, and the beam's 8.4. On the 23, it's 8.6. But on the 21, it's only 8.4, which that beam makes a big difference. So yeah, the ride is gonna be solid, and the 247 and the 267 Matt are gonna be great rides. They're gonna be really, really great rides. Mako eyeing a Nordic formula style with the V hull, open bow. Will be inland, Southwest Mercruiser, mid 2000s. Okay, so I've run. I've been on. I've been on a Nordic. Matter of fact, we were talking about the best boat captain video that I played at the very beginning, and I was one of the boats we used in shooting that. What was it? Probably a 29 Nordic. Um, Nordic 2000 hull. And here's what you want to look out for on boats like this. One is find out, has this been run in salt? There's some pretty easy telltale signs depending on where you're at. Is there'll be rust in places that you wouldn't look down the engine compartment. Look at the very, like on the stainless, like that real close rim next to the gel coat. Look in some of the tougher to get to areas. If it's been run in salt, you'll notice rust there. Not a deal killer, but you've got to be extra cautious. The other thing is, you want to check compression. You really want to check that Mercruiser engine. It sounds like you probably have a boat identified, and you want to listen. You get this style of boat because you want to run it. You don't get this style of boat to run up on plane and run 20 miles an hour. Matter of fact, when I was with this guy, just a buddy that of the marketing guy that I talked about, who I didn't know at all, and we were out, and he was ripping around because that's what you do when you have a go fast boat like that. You rip around and you go wide open throttle and you run and chop, because that's the type of person. And Jason, you're this type of person, right? Now you take great care of things, I assume, but just know that the boat's been run, right? The boat's been run hard. So because of that, hey, I've got to check things like, I've got to check compression for sure on the engine. I've got to check that drive, and I've got to pull that on the bottom of the gear case on the leading edge of the bullet, on the starboard side. Usually, I don't know if it's always there on the year, but there's a little screw that it's on 2000s. It probably is magnetized, right? So you take that screw out, you leave the vent in, that's up top, but you take that screw out, and it might drip a little bit, so have a rag, but that should be a magnet, or likely is a magnet. Look at the specific year, and you can check it out on Mercruiser, but pull that, run your finger on it, and see, are there any metal shavings in there? Is there wear in the gear case, right? If you're running, and you're running it so hard and in chop that drive is coming out of the water, and that prop is freewheeling, and it goes back in and then it grabs again, well, that puts a lot of stress on that lower unit. So double check that stress will cause metal shavings. And so you can check that. You can look at the structural integrity of the boat. Hey, are there spider cracks anywhere? Because on a boat like that, if there's a significant amount of spider cracks, I'm not just attributing it to, hey, it's a 23-year-old boat, or a 20-year-old boat, 15-year-old boat, whatever it is. That gel coat is super hard and brittle, and it can crack. On a boat like that, it's, where are the spider cracks, and is that maybe indicative of some structural issues on the boat, that this boat's just been banged around and chopped, big, going too fast for the conditions. So I'm just a little bit more looking for that hard running wear and tear. Now, on the positive side, typically the people that buy this type of boat are mechanically savvy, right? They like to go fast, they're mechanically inclined, so they know how to take care of stuff the right way, which is a positive. But it's a boat, and if they've never run a boat before, and they don't know if your drives are coming out, you got to pull back on that throttle, so that you don't freewheel it and then hit the water and then grab again. If you've ever seen that video from the guy at the Lake of the Ozarks, that he's on the throttles, off the throttles, on the throttle, off the throttle, that's part of why he's doing that. You get it's control, but also you don't want your drive just freewheeling. Um, and So those would be a few of the things that I would check. Check the drive, make sure that's solidly mounted, tap the hull like you would on any boat. Check for that gimbal bearing. If that drive kind of shakes in the housing, back and forth, it should shake, it should wiggle a little bit, but it shouldn't be loose, right? And I would check that as well. Um, those would be the big things, Jason, that I would look for on that. Jason, not sure if you do your own maintenance, but consider ease of engine access to stern drives, twin 2.8.2s. Fluid service is tough to see. Yeah, I don't. I know we opened the hood and looked at the motors, but I don't recall what the access. But Herb, that's a great point to really, if you're going to do any of the work yourself, that's a good idea. And it's not brand by brand, it's model by model. Is some brands do a better job than others, but I've seen brands that typically do a good job. They come out with a new model, and you're like, you can't do anything to this. You can't even, you certainly can't get to the bilge pump, which isn't too uncommon. But even getting to the oil filter is a challenge. You got to pull the back seat out or something like that. So thank you for sharing that, Herb. What are the telltale signs a good boat dealer? Anything to sell you a boat? Nothing. Yeah. So there is in the toolkit. So Momo, if you haven't downloaded this, download the toolkit. There's a section with questions to ask the boat dealer. And this is my I'll say prop one, but it's flipped upside down. The printer mixed it up, and I was like, I don't really care. I just need it to hold it up and show it. But let me see where I can find my questions to ask the dealer. It's all out of order too. All right. So, A couple of things. One of the things, Momo, that I think is valuable is, have they had the manufacturer for a while? Now, in 211's case, they had just picked up CFOX because, hey, center consoles weren't traditionally sold on Lake Cumberland until more recently. And so this dealer said, "Hey, we need a good quality center console that matches our other brands." They picked up, the CFOX was available, and they picked it up, but they'd only had it for a year or two. I'm okay with that. What I would ask is, how long have you had this manufacturer? What did you have before, and how long did you have that? Because the dealers that jump from one manufacturer to a next, they keep it for 3 years, and then they switch, and then they switch again, they switch again. One, that tells me they don't sell very many boats, because a manufacturer will keep a dealer that sells boats. If they don't have a good reason, hey, we dropped them because they were terrible with warranty. Okay, that's a good answer. But if they're always switching, there's something else going on, and it's probably because they don't have good customer service, and or they're not selling very many boats in general, which means they don't have the resources to take care of their customers the right way. There's a little bit of a connection there, between a financially successful dealer and a good customer service dealer. Um, have you seen any? Who do I contact if an issue arises in the next year, and how do you do it? What does that look like? So, what that's going to tell you is, who handles their warranty. Do they have a warranty administrator, or is it just the service writer, which is okay, but and then how does that work? This will tell you if they have a set process on how to handle warranty claims. I just said every boat has warranty claims, right? A brand new boat that comes off the trailer, the pre-delivery inspection checklist, the reason they do that is to find as many of those items as they can before it gets delivered to the customer. But once a customer gets it, they run the boat differently than a single service technician that is making sure the RPMs are checking out right. It says open this, check that, change that, go through all the switches. Good dealers actually do that. Not so good dealers are just check it off. Yep, I did it, and they just check it off, and because they have to have that checked off to get the warranty started. That form, the PDI, the pre-delivery inspection checklist, that typically is sent to the dealer when the deal is done, or I'm sorry, to the manufacturer when the deal is done, and that triggers the warranty to start. Um, so who handles that? What's that process look like? How long you been in business? But then just the word of mouth. Go check out their Google reviews. I promise you, if they've had bad service, somebody has left a bad review. In the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, Momo, I talk about walking the docks, go to a local marina if there's a boat show in the area. Go to the boat ramp, look for the boats that are the style and the brand so look for a Mako, look for a trophy, and just sit at the boat ramp for a half hour, an hour. And hey, did you have a good experience? Walk the docks at a marina that may have the style of boats. If they're a Mako or a trophy, they're probably trailer boaters based on the sheer size of the boat. It's probably a boat that's going to be trailered and not left in a marina. It may be in a dry stack if you've got those in your area, but just go up and say, hey, I'm considering this style of boat. I'm considering this brand of boat from ABC dealership. Have you had a good experience? Most of them will give you an honest answer. There's going to be some, it's their boat. They don't want to call their baby ugly. But typically, if they're talking about the dealer, they'll give you, yeah, they've been great to work with, like 211 has said, or they've been awful to work with, which I've had customers tell me that, hey, they're terrible to deal with, and they'll be more honest about that. They'll be a little less honest about the issues they've had with their boat because they don't want to say they made a bad decision on the brand they bought. So that can be, or they may boat a different style or whatever. They may have different expectations, different ways that they're going to use the boat than you do. And so that one I take a little bit more with a grain of salt, but they'll usually tell you about the dealer. And go into Facebook groups, the boating Lake Wiley, boating Lake Norman, boating wherever you are, and say, hey, what's anybody's experience with ABC dealership? And again, the people that had a bad experience are going to be a lot more vocal. So if you're getting some bad experiences, okay, but are most of them positive? All right, I might be okay with that dealer. Does it sound like a disgruntled person, or does it sound like, yeah, they should have, they should have taken care of that, and now too many of those, and now I'm gonna step back from that brand and say, okay, who else has that style of boat in that price range, that is gonna suit my needs? Or if you get a bunch of people saying I bought 7 boats from them, well, that's a pretty good sign. If a bunch of people are saying that, so that's kind of how you sift and sort them. What are your thoughts on the Sea-Doo switch? Pros, cons, value. All right, so Brian, I did a video on the Sea-Doo switch, and I will tell you that the Sea-Doo switch is not for me, okay? Now, with that said, I try to make videos because cruisers are also not for me. When I So this is the video that you can check out. Um, I went into my back end for the too. But you can go watch this video, reaction to the Sea-Doo switch. This is before I had the opportunity to inspect one, and I was just going by when they first came out a year ago. Um, I have since inspected them. In this video, I'm not a big fan of a lot of things. When I went and inspected them, I'm like, okay, that's not bad. Um, Here's my concerns with them is the plastic around the outside it's what they use in Jeeps, okay? Which is fine when you're running a Jeep in the wintertime, and that's keeping the cold out or the rain out, a soft top. But on a boat, you've got an anchor and you've got skis and you've got different things that I, you, a dock, you can run into a dock that's going to just puncture it. That's a concern that I think is a true legitimate concern. Um, the I didn't like the modular pontoon structure with that with that plastic. It's not PVC, but it kind of feels like that with that type of plastic. But I have since talked to people, and there is it can be patched. But I think this boat is going to show its age quicker than a regular pontoon, just because the material is a little bit cheaper. Um, the construction's a little cheaper. I think the flooring's going to have issue. With that said, Brian, remember this boat's not for me. I want to go 20 miles an hour just up on plane cruise. I want to be by my family. I'm not a speed guy. I don't even, my in-laws have 2 like super hyped up Yamaha wave runners, and I'll take my girls out on because they love them, but I won't take them out by myself just to ride because I'm not a fan. It's not what I find enjoyable, but the people that I've talked to that own them, some of them might even be on this live. I get messages from them. Talked to a lady that just bought one at the Charlotte Boat Show, or a couple weeks after the Charlotte Boat Show, that love them. They love them. They're fun. They're sporty. They're easy to handle. The motorcycle type steering is, from what I'm told from first time boaters, is much more intuitive, much easier to learn than the boat thing. And I created my best boat captain on the water program. From what I'm hearing from very first time, never run a boat before boaters, is I can dock this thing without a problem with their docking mode, with the just intuitiveness of the handles, and they really are enjoying them. I think in 5 years, I think this boat is gonna look really worn out, um, because of some of the materials that they use, because of the way they did it. But we'll see. That's a opinion of mine, a prediction of mine, may or not be accurate. The one thing is make sure you run it. Make sure that you want that sportiness. Make sure that you're happy with the way it rides. One of the other things that I talked about on the shorter models is that it was going to nosedive the way a typical pontoon would do into if you had big rollers, that it would nosedive into the pontoon. That was an unfounded critique of it. From what the videos that I've seen and the people I've talked to, is that's not an issue. So if you do go watch that video, you can disregard that. Like, and I preface this all by saying I'm making some assumptions, and this boat's not for me. And then I gave my review, so you can go check that out. But those are some of the thoughts. I still have yet to run one. Um, and I haven't, they just came out last year, so I haven't seen one that a lot of people were putting them in rental fleets. I would like to see one at the end of the year, and see it after it's had 2 good solid years of being running, and and see how they're really turning out. There is, if you watch, oh, what is it? Jet Boat Pilots. Um, if you go to the Jet Boat Pilot, um, channel, they have they're already selling these aftermarket panels to put down the side of the tubes. My gut tells me because those are getting chopped up pretty good, cut up pretty good by running into docks and especially at the coast with barnacles. These panels look pretty cool. And just like anything, there's always some aftermarket stuff. But this told me that, hey, there might be a reason why this aftermarket product has come out, because the that material gets can get marred up pretty easy, and you'll be able, it's plastic, so it would make sense. You hit something hard and it's gonna scrape it up. But you can watch, this guy has actually run them, and he's got a couple videos, and he is, he's getting paid sponsorship, but he seems to be giving as honest of a review as he can when people are paying him money, to do it. It's one of the reasons I haven't accepted money from any boat manufacturer, because I don't want it to sway. Well, they paid me, they gave me access to this and paid me. I don't want that to bias me at all. I just want it to be, this is Captain Matt's opinion. Take it or leave it. It's my opinion, but I don't want it to be biased by the manufacturer because they paid me money. Um, Now, with the exception, if Barletta wants to give me a pontoon, that I would take because I believe they're 100% the best pontoon on the market, and they haven't paid me a single penny, from Barletta. So, but I would be glad to take their boat because I can stand by it. I've said it 2 years ago in my very first video I did about them. So that one I'd feel good at. Thank you, Ray. Hit that like button. I would appreciate it. Like, share my videos. It does make a difference and helps. I know we discussed 200 versus the 250. How much extra torque would you say? Matt, I can't go back to this question again. I can't. It is an impossible question to answer. This is the third week that you've asked it. Um, it's, you have to experience it. You have to. Let me pull something up. I'm just giving you hell, Matt, but um, boat test Chaparral 200 horsepower. 200 horsepower SSI. Okay, so boat test will do, this is one advantage to taking marketing dollars from the brands, is they will give you they will pay you and give you access to the boats. With that said, they're and Boat Test does a pretty good job. Captain Steve does again, as good of a job as you can do when you're taking money from the people that you're reviewing. But they will give you access to a boat. They give it to Boat Test and to boating.com, Boating Magazine to test it. Um, and they will run numbers. Okay. Whoa, Nelly. All right. I'm not sure what happened there, but my whole system just kind of did a refresh. So I don't know what that was. Hopefully you guys are all still with me. But they will show you the speed and the RPM. So you can kind of see where it gets up on plane. That most economical cruising speed is, now this is with the Volvo drive. The thing is, they typically won't run the same boat with the two different motors, unless that's a special request that they make. And usually they're just going to have them run the best motor so that the numbers look good. So the 200 versus 250, you might be hard pressed to find, but that's where I would go. Is I would go to the Boat Test archives, and this is from 2019 before they were putting those out. They might have been doing the outboards, but that's what I would do, is go and check that out and see. The other thing, Matt, that you could do is go talk to a Chaparral dealer. Talk to the service department of that Chaparral dealer. Talk to the oldest, grumpiest guy in the service department and say, hey, what's the real deal with the 200 versus the 250 on this boat? That guy or that lady, it's going to be a guy. Let's be honest. The guy that's been in the service department for 30 years, he's not going to cut any crap. He's just going to lay it out there and say, this is the way it is. He's not interested in selling anything. He's not interested in spinning anything. He's pissed that they went from cable steering to digital steering, and fly by wire he's still suspect of it. So he's going to give you his honest opinion. And that's it for anybody buying. And Momo, this is for you as well. It's a great person to talk to find out the real skinny and to find out how good this dealership is. Now, he's not going to be a sales personality. He's going to be probably gruff. He's not going to be polished, but he's going to give you the straight scoop on what's going on. So that's what I would do. I would go to your local Chaparral dealer and ask that guy, somebody in the service department that's been with them for over 10 years or more, 20 years better, 30 years is even better. If he'll talk to you and ask that question. It's a great thing at the boat show if they've got their techs. That's the person I like to talk to find out what's really going on with different boats. Captain Matt, looking into boating, considering the Sea-Doo switch. Doug, you are in luck because Brian asked that question right beforehand, so you're answered. We got a double shot right there. Two birds, one stone, as they say. All right, holy crap. I knew this. We at an hour, 23 minutes. My wife, I showered up. I was icing my knees. I've had 2 ACL surgeries, one on each knee. And so they get all swollen up when I work like I did today. My wife brought me dinner in bed. I iced my knees, took some Advils, got a leg massage. And now I'm like, I don't know if I might cancel the live tonight. She's like, just go do it. You're going to be fine. And now we're at hour and 23 minutes in and we're good to go. Garrett says, welcome, Garrett. I don't recognize your name. I didn't recognize Doug M either. So welcome, Doug. Brian, I didn't recognize you. Welcome, Brian. Let's see. Garrett says, looking at a 2017 Ranger Tug 23, nice amenities, cabin for me in Michigan, one extend boating season, seaworthy vessel versus Rossboro 246. Don't like bow riders at all. looking for a good boat for longer trips, overnighting. Is this seaworthy? What ought to be looked at? Okay, so this is the tug market. I don't know much about. I will tell you there is a guy out there that he will cuss all tugs all the time. He had a bad experience with the well, no, with a no, it was Ranger tug. Um, let's see, 2017 Ranger tug 23 with 200. All right. All right. So I don't know if this is the one you're looking at, but it doesn't. This is sold, so that's good. So this style of boat, outside of Ranger, this style of boat is going to handle pretty much what you throw at it. You're in Michigan, so I assuming Great Lakes. When you say seaworthy, I don't know if you're taking it to the coast. It's only a 23-foot boat, but let me get. So here's the thing with this style of boat. Look at that. Stop. Let's see if I can get this to stop scrolling. Why do you people do this? Why do you insist on not letting people stop and look? All right. So if you look at the style, that look at that leading edge going into the chop. I mean, that sucker is sharp and it's all the way up. You've got no flare, so it's just going to slice through that water and splash it to the side. You've got a hard surface deck that if you do take a wave over the bow, it's just going to flow right off. You've got the gunnels come up an extra almost a foot. I can't tell for sure up in that bow to trail off. You've got scuppers that is going to drain if the water does come up and over. But let's see if we can see here. Well, and they don't have that image that I want to show you. So let's go to, let's see if we can find. Would you say 23? Let's try this one here. Let's see if this gives us some better pictures, Garrett. So a wave's got to come up and over. The only water is going to flow down here, and that's going to flow right out the back. I would imagine there's scuppers back there, which I can't see, but I would have to say that there's water that's draining right off the deck into the back, or at least down into the bilge and out. But that's going to be able to handle some nasty slop. You've got an enclosed cockpit. That little pilot house is gonna be perfectly comfortable in all conditions. With that said, I don't know enough about this boat to give any. It's good. It's not good. I don't know this style of boat as far as the brands. But that's what this boat is made for. This boat is made for going excursions, for long journeys in some sloppy conditions. That's what it's there for. But it's only 23 feet. So it's, you've got to keep your bow into the chop. And small craft advisory, I'm staying home, which everybody should. Any small craft advisory is, if you're a pleasure boater, don't go out. You have no business being on the water. But you're gonna have to find your own threshold that you're comfortable. But a boat like this is going to be stable, and it's going to handle most normal conditions that a pleasure boater would want to go out in. Watch your weather, be smart about that. But it is only 23 feet. I would think it's going to handle the type of boating that you say. And if you are on the Great Lakes, if you're doing the loop in a boat like this, yeah, you could absolutely do it. Um, Overnighting, it's 23, so there's not a ton of space, but you do have, so in the cabin, the V berth, there's not a ton of space, but what you do have is you've got the living area in the salon kind of pilot house area, whatever they call that on these boats, which most don't have. Like an express cruiser doesn't have that, so you actually have a lot more space interior for overnighting and being comfortable and not getting claustrophobic than you would in a 24, like a 24 Sundance or a 24 Regal cruiser. Um, what you want to look at is I pulled this video up earlier, but um, watch this video right here, Garrett. That will give you every cruiser. You're going to look at the same stuff. So you got to check the air conditioning. You've got to check the plumbing systems. It's a 2017, so what? It's 5 years old. There's How do they maintain it? It's probably going to have a generator. It's going to have the electrical panel. You got to check all that stuff. It's going to have electronics on it, probably. You got to check all that stuff. It's got a fresh water system. You got to check that. It's got a hot water heater. You got to check that. You've got a head, so you've got to check the plumbing for the vacuum flush and all that stuff that you've got to look at. And you want to make sure that you're diligent, because there may be some filters, there may be some strainers, there may be some seacocks that you're not aware of. Make sure that they all open and close. Make sure that the strainers have been cleaned. Talk to the owner about how they maintained it, where they ran it. Those types of things would be the things that I would look at, and then watch that video. This video is 36 minutes long. And what's really interesting, it's got 180,000 views, and like, this is one of the longer videos that has the best watch time. Like, on some of my videos, my video with like 1.5 million views, people watch half of it, and it's a 5 or 6 minute long video. This is a 36-minute long video, and like 75% of the people watch the whole thing. It's pretty crazy. But the people that are interested in buying cruisers, it's stuff that they really need to know. So I would look at that. Now that it's getting warm, I have to find time to get out since I got my promotion at work. Should be that's always the ballot. Hey, I got to pay for this thing, but now I've got it and I got to get out on the water. I'll tell you, 211. I don't know if this fits for your lifestyle, but some of my favorite time out of the water is going out at 6 o'clock on a weekday, and you can stay out till, depending on, I'm fortunate that if I start my day at 10 o'clock, it's okay. I'll work till 6 or 7, or I won't work at all, and I'll work on the weekends, and my schedule's very flexible. But we really enjoy going out on a weekday and staying out, having dinner on the boat or eating at a restaurant, staying out past sunset. I'm very comfortable. Excuse me. I'm very comfortable operating a boat at night. You need to get comfortable operating a boat during the day first. Get your skills locked in. If you trailer, get that. If you're marina, figure out how that all works. But get comfortable doing all that during the day. When you hit that point, going out, staying out past sunset, 9, 10 o'clock at night, it is peaceful. It is quiet. Even on Cumberland, you got the lake to yourself for the most part. And that's really, really, to me, enjoyable boating time if it fits into your schedule. So hopefully that helps get out a couple extra times throughout the summer. Just thinking about that option being there for you. Brock, good to have you. Just got done cleaning the boat from a tournament. Finished second. Nice work on a 2-day tournament. Hopefully, you were up on Norman. You should have told me you were here, man. I was doing yard work all day. That's the sunburn. But I would have loved to grab a beer with you. You're probably beat though. And congratulations on a nice second place finish. And hey, Brock, I got the candle, the two-stroke candle. I should have brought them up here, but they're sitting downstairs. I just got them today. I'm not in love with the smell, so I'm gonna have to light mine and see what it smells like. But I'm gonna send yours. Just know I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this if we got the smell right, and if we didn't, I think this is a bust. But it was fun talking about it with the lady that's making them. She was like, "You are stupid and crazy." She's a neighbor of mine. We were talking at a it was the Final Four party because friends of mine went to Florida Atlantic. That was kind of the Cinderella. And anyway, we were talking about it there. So that's coming your way. I'll try to dig up your address. I may need to ask you for that again, but that's coming your way soon. And hey, also, um, Brock was nice enough to double check my fishing. I hope I did him justice with his notes. He gave me some great notes on this fisherman fishing etiquette video that I put out. So hopefully I got the right notes there and hit that. He gave me a big huge list of his as a very experienced and frequent fisherman. He gave me his take on my first draft of it. So thank you for that, Brock. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the switch answer. Keep up the hard work. Take care of those knees. Yeah. Hey, listen, almost 50, and the doctors. Every couple of years I go in. I'm like, listen, my knees are killing me. What can we do? They're like, just tough it out. You got arthritis, you've got scar tissue building up. If we go in there again, it's just going to make the scar tissue worse. And at 43 or 4, they told this to me, just manage the pain as long as you can. The next surgery you should have is to get new knees. So I'm going to be 50 some year old with new knees, I think is the way it's heading. But you're welcome, Brian. Glad to answer it. And again, try to give an answer based on not what I think is the right boat, because it's different for everybody. But just give an honest review. Um, the crab and clam is delicious. Well, when you get it fresh right out of the ocean or wherever you dig those up. I thought you dug the clams out, but when you pull it right from its home and eat it within hours, that does make it always better. Um, Al says, any news on Dometic steering cables that caused the stop sale recall? They're saying safety issues, but not saying what that's. I don't, Al. I talked about it earlier in the live. That a technician friend of mine, that Mike, he did some of the tech videos. That here we go. There he is, right there. Doing the 100-hour service video. But I talked to him the other day and he was telling me about it. I wasn't aware of it, that it was that bad, but he's like, they're the only game in town. And if you've got cable steering, you're out of luck. And there's no date. There's no date that he's heard of. And he's been in the industry for over 20 years and has a bunch of contacts. He can't get his hands on one. And he said, I don't know when they're going to get it addressed. But I don't know what the issue is specifically. Um, but I can tell you, if they're pulling them, that it's something that you don't want to ignore. And make sure that you take it to the dealer and have it checked. But I don't know what it is. I'll ask him. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk to him this week again about something else. So I'll ask him if he knows what the issue is with them. And Al, welcome back. Al's been with us a couple times. Alucian. I was like, "Okay, bravo, what bravo, Brock." Yes, on a second place finish. I was too busy trying to not look like an idiot reading that word, reading your username. I agree, went out the other night for a late cruise, sat by the dam for an hour or so. Yeah, it is we did this as kids when my family had our first boat, a 16-foot Larson Tri-Haul. My dad had his own business, and usually he would work till 7, 8 o'clock at night when we were kids. But in the summertime, he would be like, listen, Tuesday, I've adjusted my schedule that I can get off at 5 o'clock. You guys, my brother and I would have the boat hooked up to the Econoline conversion van, the Ford Econoline conversion van. We would get it hooked up. Um, we would have it all ready, 100% ready to go. Dad would come, get out of his work clothes, which he did home security and lightning rods was his company, and he was on the installation side. So he would get his jeans and work boots off, and put on his swim trunks and a t-shirt, and we would roll down, get gas, get some ice, get some fried chicken or sandwiches, and we would head to Fremont Lakes for the day. And we would be there from 6 till dark on a little tiny sandpit lake. And we would stop and have Godfather's Pizza on the way home with our cousins that lived in right by that lake. Maybe my other cousins that came to the lake with us. And we would get home at 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then he would work till 9 o'clock that next night because he took that time off. So, uh, yeah, that's always been part of our boating style, just because it was so we had the whole lake to ourselves on those weekdays. All right. I got eaten up by fire ants because they were in the mulch and it where I had to pull out the railroad ties. And now I feel them crawling on me. Um, I was going to hit you up, but we were out on the water from sunup. Yeah, let me know. Lake Murray's an hour and a half away. But if you do Lake Norman or Lake Wiley, those are both 45 minutes away. And but I know you're fishing all day. You're exhausted. But if you do have the time, let me know. That would be fun to meet you out for sure. Um, we all know good premium pontoons boats, but I have an aunt that's interested in a pontoon that doesn't want to spend a lot. Low cost pontoon brand. What's value brand? So Matt, um, Brian Boyles, which I don't know if he's still here or not, has a Sun Tracker, which is a value brand, sold at Bass Pro Shop. You can get, their pricing is right on their site. Um, and he has a tri-tune with a 200, I think. Um, Sun Tracker pontoon, say 115. So a 22 DLX with a 115 is 40,000 with freight prep. So add tax title, depending on where you are. Looks like they've got inflation buster price and a $2,000 rebate. Or no, that's just a $2,000 savings. With the 150 with the command thrust, which is the bigger gear case to push the pontoons, um, and the bigger lower unit. So 40,000 for a 22 foot, which is a pretty good. Even the 115 is, that boat will push it enough to pull some kids on skis or wakeboard and tubes. You're not going to pull a big guy like me out on a slalom ski on that, but even a 90 if you're just cruising with a few people is great. But that's going to be a value brand. The Bentley, depending on where she's at, Bentley they've improved a ton, and Bentley pontoons. But let's see, first pontoon boats. So this video right here, I don't know if you can see that or not, but best and worst pontoon boats. And that unfortunately, that title works really well, but it's not worst. It's value. Like here's what I say in my videos, which people don't really understand, or maybe I don't say it clearly. But there is, even the cheapest pontoon is still a good, safe pontoon. They cut the materials and the build quality to hit the price point. There's no doubt that a Sun Tracker is built significantly different than a Barletta, but there's also a 50%, 90% price difference depending on the options. And not everybody needs that. And so when I say worst, I wish I didn't have to, but I don't have to. But if I want to get more views and help more people, that title works. But I also do a review of the Sun Tracker brands and kind of talk through where do they keep the cost down? How are they doing it? And it's the same way all of them do. So that Sun Tracker is in that category. Um, the Godfrey Sweetwater, I think, was in that category, is where I ended up putting them. Luxury, mid-tier. All right, so these are the value brands: Bentley, Lexington, Montego Bay, Quest, Sun Tracker, Viaggio by Misty Harbor. I think I made a mistake there, because I've been inspecting them over the last. I did this in 2001, and they should be at least a mid-tier boat. I was evaluating based on the Misty Harbor brand, which they in 2001 or 2021 they totally revamped it and rebranded it Viaggio, and they've done a great job. But the Misty Harbor brand, it was very, very dated, and they were using older style looks and construction process. So Misty Harbor should be in the value, but Viaggio should be at least a mid tier. I don't think they do quite enough to get into the premium level, but they do build a better boat than what I talk about in this video. The mid tiers, if you look at like um, Sweetwater by Godfrey, that's a good quality boat that is gonna keep your price down. And they again, I talk about this in the video, but each brand will have a premium, a mid-tier, and a value within their brand that they build different, they option different. And so if you're looking to keep your price down, a great way to do that is to buy the value brand within a mid-tier boat. And that's another way to get more boat for the money. And then also make sure you're choosing smart options with stuff that you need. That's another way that Sun Tracker keeps their prices down. Is one, they've got huge scale. They build a ton of boats. They buy a ton of Mercuries. For all their tracker brands have Mercuries, and they buy Mercuries for their stores, for the Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. They put them on the Makos. They put them on the Sun Trackers. They put them on the Tracker. They put them on all of the different boat brands that they have. And the Regencies, because of that, they get motors cheaper than somebody that only builds 200 boats. And all of that, same thing with the seating and the aluminum and the trailers, is all of that stuff. Because of the scale, they can keep their prices down there as well. They sell them not direct, but they sell them mainly through Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, which White River owns, and so they get some scale there, and some savings there. So that's a couple that I would look at, and then have her watch that video as well. It will also talk about, in the beginning, I talk about how it's constructed, so that you can understand where they're taking material and the impact it's going to have, and where they're taking material and it's only going to be aesthetics or maybe the fence rail isn't quite as high or the railing isn't quite as thick a diameter. But if you're running on a smaller lake, it may not be an issue at all. And Brian Boyles, which again has a sun tracker, loves it. Him and his grandkid go fishing, and he couldn't have a better time on a boat that costs an extra 50 grand than he has on his boat with his grandson. And that's what it's all about to me. Thursday night working man tournaments start this upcoming week, 5 to 9 every Thursday till the second week of October. Just catch a few to be in the top 5. That's pretty cool. Be in the money at the end of the year. That is pretty cool for getting off. If you can get there at 5, that's a fun night. I know they do a bunch of those on Lake Wiley, where I want to say they do some catfish and some bass tournaments on Lake Wiley on, I want to say Tuesday and Thursday, where they're always fishing Wiley. It's the same club guys, but they only fish Wiley. I don't think they travel. So awesome. All right, we're at an hour and 50 minutes. I went way longer than I was expecting to, which means it was a good show. We had a lot of great questions. We had some new folks join us, which is awesome. I appreciate you guys all joining. They're a blast. 5 fish limit at the end of the year last year. Payout 4th place was $8 grand. That is awesome. Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all. And a fun thing to do. I think we talked about this last year, that the camaraderie and the just, dudes hanging out, giving each other crap about something they love is a great way to spend your time. I'd rather buy a used mid upper tier model from a premium. Yeah. Sustainability. That's actually another good point. Matt, is buying something that's 5 to 7 years old is another way to keep the investment down. And the nice thing about pontoons, I talked about it with who was the guy that was looking at the Nordic, whatever his name was, I don't remember now, but the way that boat is run is usually pretty hard and aggressive. The way a pontoon with a 90 is run, maybe a 115, they're generally cruising, and as long as they maintain it, that part's critical. It's a great way to get a nice boat that keeps your investment down, but give you a little bit higher quality. Now you lose the warranty, which for some people that's highly important, but that's my style. So my style is to buy a little bit higher level, with usually about 5 years is kind of that point where I'm like, okay, now the depreciation is hit and it's out of warranty. Stuff today, if it's well taken care of, will last, for 1,500 hours. And that's a great way to do it as well. Thanks for sharing that sustainability. That's a great tip as well. Get off at 3. So usually tow the boat to work Thursday. The ramp that launches is about 5 minutes from my house, Cooper River. Okay. So they're always local. And $20 to enter per day, a $5,000 return. That works out good. That is good math. So that helps pay for the habit. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Congratulations, Brock. Thanks for all the great questions. Thanks for all the likes and the sharing of the videos. And the support, very much appreciated. We'll catch you guys all next week, when hopefully this sunburn is from spending the whole week on the water. I'll be filming a bunch on the water this week. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next weekend.